I got the itch for some competitive Pokemon. All I get is bots. I don't get 5v5. It would be nice. Totally graphics dropped significantly. I like this song from what you call it? Rapidash Battle Pass. Instead of this, give me Pokemon music inside the game. Oh yeah. Got to just stay in the lobby, or it'll constantly remind me I haven't won. And it's like, I just started playing. And you're more likely gonna put me in a match for the first one. Let's try for our first win. I was gonna play the game regardless. You don't lose. It's clearly a bot game. No one's gonna pick anything until the very last second, and I'm not gonna pick anything until the very last second. I just want people. I don't care. I was say I don't even remember who I was playing with yesterday, but it's like probably a Speedster. I probably want to play Zoroark. It's not even probably. I want to play Zoroark. Let's go back to the bots. Go against Leon until I can in 5 set.
Welcome to the 2026 Pokemon Unite Championship Series.
Spraggles.
Season introduces a new and exciting league format, hosting 8 teams in 3 regions: North America, Europe, and Latin America. Each region will play in a double round-robin format that will be played out in 5 weekends of competition. Once all of the matches are played, the top 5 teams from each region will qualify for the playoffs. 3 teams will have to fight for their spot and avoid relegation. 2017. Each region's playoff bracket will play out over 2 days, where lower seeds will need to fight their way to the top. The top 2 finishers from each region will win loads of cash prizes and, most importantly, an invite to the Pokemon Unite World Championships in San Francisco. Who will rise to the top? What stories will emerge throughout this season? Make sure you're part of all the action.
Have you ever had your back to the wall? Never had the odds against you stacked tall?
This is garbage. I'm like, please stop. It was better off just giving me Pokemon music. It's like, what is this garbage? I'm still 6.5 minutes, 7 minutes before the game. Bots, bro, so boring. I go walking up to the base. I have 34 points. The base only has 33 points left before it's broken. It's just like, is it garbage?
To the Pokemon Unite Championship Series. Here we are, the kickoff weekend for our regional format, this season's format here in the Unite Championship Series. And this is day 2. On this broadcast, we are going to be covering games out of EU, LATAM, and North America. It's going to be a long one. It's going to be a great one. I'm so excited to be back with you. It's me, Jake, your resident content cowboy, aka Spraggles, ye to the and I am joined by a few amazing casters here. First, let's say hi to the one and only.
Hello, I'm excited to get into day 2. Yesterday was a long one, but there are a lot of great matches we got to see between EU, LA, and NA regions. And we're going to keep that train rolling today, and I cannot wait to get the action underway so we can see at the end of the first weekend where these teams are positioned for the rest of the ride.
Now, I know, Zoinks, you are eye on where these teams are at with your power rankings that are also primarily vibes based right now. Tell me about it.
Yeah, it was a whole lot of fun getting our first look at all of these regional league teams. You can take a quick look there. We're starting in EU today, but it was a whole lot of fun getting our first picture, but I'm excited to complete our week number 1 and get a somewhat more complete picture of course, our primarily vibes based rankings.
Now, Chef, yesterday you were watching some of our off-stream games. Today you are in the casting booth. How you doing, dude?
I'm great. I'm super excited. You know, yesterday I was kind of off on my own, and today I get to argue with Zoinks the entire day about his power rankings. And so honestly, that's exactly what I'm here for. I suffered through yesterday because I had to, but no, I'm really excited to be able to cast again today because some of the matches yesterday were awesome.
Yeah, so many great games. And if you want some ammunition for arguing with Zoinks, the team that won LAIC is lower than the team that lost in groups for North America. So that's
2-1 versus Lunex. 2-1 versus Lunex.
That's just a little something if you just need a little ammunition. And of course, Kello, today you get to be our observer, hiding there in the tall grass of Thea Sky Ruins and watching the matches that we don't get to see on stream and bring us some highlights. Tell me about that.
Yes, I'll be lurking in the tall grass behind the scene, watching those off-stream matches, which I have already been doing so with the EU already kicking off for the day. So excited to see how those go and bring you live throughout the day.
Now, we are here on day 2. We had a crazy day 1 of games, and we're going to look back at some of those big moments for you right now. Kelosaurus, take us a little bit through EU and what we saw.
Yes, we had an incredible start to the day with EU absolutely bringing to fire the chili that, I mean, is on Doob Snack's shelf there, but really just giving us a taste for what the EU region is bringing to the table with the 2026 season from both the invited teams, but also those who ended up making it through the open qualifiers. We really got an insight into what the EU meta is currently looking like, a lot of mega Pokemon bans, a lot of Mewtwo X's and Mewtwo Y's, but also just demonstrating that attackers are still viable in this meta. We saw Inteleons, we saw Decidueye featured in this match from BH3 Esports and Kamai, shots just flying everywhere. But this was such a great start to the day with BH3.
I don't play against people, so I don't know what the meta is. I just don't get people.
Peps ended up at the top of
The
our
bots just
leaderboard,
pick
not
whatever is
losing
really
a
good
set.
against me.
So
That's it.
2-0 BH3 winning their one set
And I usually
there.
just don't play
And Engage, Volticons, and Los Cardos also ended up taking a game set win for their squads as well.
It is more fun to
Yeah,
play
now obviously it's still very early, right,
Or I
Kello?
would
But we
just-
shake
that's what I
out
used to
and
do.
we see teams start
was
to
miserable.
position themselves as the best in their region right away. Just day 1, but really exciting stuff already.
Yes,
Of
and there's
course.
still plenty more to come for day 2.
That's right. And we're going to be heading into Europe soon, but we need to talk a little bit about Latin America yesterday. Zoinks, you wanted to break this down, didn't you?
I sure did. I mean, this is one of my favorite regions for Pokemon Unite, obviously worldwide. There were so many incredible games, both on broadcast and off broadcast, for this region. And one of the most exciting things, I think it was Doom Snacks talking about it at the end of our day number 1 coverage, is just how fun it is to watch, to cast over these games due to just how high octane some of these fights are. Just constant battles all over the map. The drafts end up being really, really fun. I think we saw some cool innovations that teams like Team Peru. This Infamous Gaming and Force Gaming set was really fun. Force Gaming bringing some cool stuff, even like popular Pokemon that we see with maybe less common movesets, like Suicune with that Surf and Ice Crash kind of build, which is a lot of fun to see some of these more interesting innovations from these. Also showing up, and this is where we ended our day number 1 in terms of Latin America standings. Peru Unite, the lone team at 2-0 at the end of day number 1.
Anthony 7 looking pretty good. Force only getting to play that one game that we saw, but I mean, they looked amazing. Also, I think they were handed Mega Gyarados. I don't know if they got it twice, but I mean, anytime some of these teams were handed Mega Gyarados, it was just really tough for another squad to deal with. We'll be seeing more of these teams here today. We'll be seeing how day 2 shakes out for LATAM very soon. And of course, we had North America to finish out our day. Wonder Chef, tell me about it, dude.
Yeah, North America, obviously, you know, I was watching a lot of the off-stream matches yesterday, but North America was one that I got to watch a little bit more. We got to see Lunex versus Root Dig here. And honestly, while we were just battling out the gate, I think, with Latin America and some of EU, I feel like North America was a little bit more testing the waters. And while we got some good matches, I feel like North America as well is a region that has had a lot of teams that have kind of formed for the Last Chance qualifier or have really got together kind of after LAIC. So not sure
I don't
how
want
they're going to do
bots.
exactly against each other, but the big two
Especially
names
not
to look at
egregious
are
bots.
going
It's
to be
the worst,
probably
man.
Evil Geniuses and Root Dignitas, which we did see in this match against Lunex Gaming. Now, Lunex Gaming, unfortunately, did have to play both of those teams in one day, and honestly, they did stand a chance against both of them. They just unfortunately weren't able to close it out, and so we do get to see those two big teams already 2-0, both respectively, looking to be the teams to beat. A lot of teams otherwise, though. Citadel Gaming, one of my teams to watch. Really to I think it's Extinction as well.
1-for-1 of
but
egregious
unfortunately some of the teams a little bit split. However, the I think ability for these teams to grow, since a lot of them are newer as
This is why I've
teams,
come here.
is larger.
This is
than
the only
some
way
of
for
the
me to
other regions.
get competitive.
Yeah, I mean, you know, it
Pokemon
was
matches
interesting
if I
seeing
watch it.
Lunex, right? because they did go 0-2 for the day, which is a pretty rough start. But you're right. They went into the 2 best teams in the region right now in our standings, Evil Geniuses and your LAIC champions, Root Dig, who happen to be number 2 on Zoink's power ranking, number 2 on these rankings too, which is pretty amazing. We should have, if we do right now, an updated standing for EU coming up here too, because we do have some games that have been happening off broadcast. So before we hit EU, we are going to be seeing updated standings from them as well as our broadcast schedule. But let's take a look at our regional standings for all of our regions here. Again, BH3, now that we have these updated standings, they are on top of Europe, taking down Team Peps. They are 2-0 right now. Team Peps 2-1 as we continue down there in Europe. No other games have been played yet in Latin America and North America, but we will continue updating
if I play competitively,
as we
I would
go
actually,
through the day, and you will see not only the games on broadcast, we'll update with the games
going
that
against
happen
any team
off
that
broadcast as well.
If you use Volt
Let's
Tackle,
take a little bit of a
Pikachu
look
against
at
me,
our
I will not
broadcast
shake your hand
schedule
after the match.
just here, so you guys know what games we
I'm
are
staring at that
today.
timer,
A lot of teams we
hoping
saw
that it ends
yesterday, and of course, a lot of teams we
immediately.
did
You
not
came
get
onto
to
the
see.
big-
Doob Snacks, tell me about it.
Los Caducados and Volticons Unite are going to kick off EU, and I believe they are 5 and 6 in Zoinks' power ranking, so might be squared up for a pretty even vibes-based matchup there. Komai J'aime le Poulet is up next. BH3 and Avalanche are going to round out EU, jumping straight into LATAM. Tuesday versus Infamous, CACM Entity 7. And Force Gaming and DreamMax closed the door on that region, but we're not done. We got to go to NA, Lunex Gaming and TI Game kick us off there. Extinction and Aftermath Esports looking for big bounce backs today. And Citago Gaming and IX Gaming scrapping to see who will be the next 2-0.
Really interesting stuff there in North America, right? Like we have a lot of, every single team has the same record. Lunex has something to prove. TI Gang has something to prove. Extinction obviously had a tough match yesterday, but what a strong squad. Aftermath maybe has more to prove than any squad in NA right now, needing a big bounce back. And then you've got Citadel and IX, both 1-0. Just really cool to see into day 2 for sure. We've also not only got, you know, the glory on the line for a lot of these teams, but there is some real prizing behind our league right here. The top 2 teams, of course, from our league are heading to Worlds. One of the absolute biggest things. You could become our Worlds champion. But take a look at some of this do-re-mi. First place team, 45,000. Second place team, 35,000. All the way down to our 8th place team, 8,000 just for playing. I think it's not fair that 6th and 8th get the same amount. But you know what? I didn't divvy up the money. I asked to look at the money, and they said you can't even look at it, Jake. You just can't even see the money. Doob Snacks, you and I are going to...
You actually probably make more money than that tournament, than this tournament will pay.
Doob Snacks, you and I are going to be taking this first game here. We're going to be saying goodbye to Zoinks and Wonder Chef, who are going to be casting here in a moment. We're going to be saying goodbye to Kello, who is going to be watching some of our off-stream games and coming back here in just a sec. But we've got an exciting one coming up. We've got Volticons and Los Caducados. Goodbye, you 3. Hello, you 1.
Oh, you other one. I cannot believe they didn't let you touch the money this year, Spraggles.
They didn't even let me see the money.
It's weird that you always ask to touch it and not like validate where it's going. It's like, can I just touch a whole bunch of it? And they said, no, not this time.
Every time they say there's a prize pool, I say, send me a picture of it. Let me touch it. I need to know that it's real. You know, I think that's very important.
Well, it is very important, and it's important for the players playing to know that it's also real, and you have a weird touch thing, sensory thing that you've got going on, which, you know, that's just a fun quirk about the cowboy. But let's talk about
I'm a kinesthetic learner.
Let's talk about Los Caducados, and I'm going to pitch it back to you. Walk us through it.
Yeah, Los Caducados 1-1 right now. Nihat, I feel like, was having some big plays yesterday when we were seeing this team, so I'm excited to see Los Caducados here today. Obviously, when you're walking into a group 1-1, you have a lot to prove, especially when you're running up into another team with the exact same record, right, Doob Snacks? So these are these moments where you really start to separate the pack. Right now, BH3 is the team undefeated currently, but you win this game right here, and you're tied right along with Peps.
I'm gonna add another
and
loss.
Gerardi on that Trevenant yesterday was having some flashes of brilliance. And I wouldn't be surprised if Volticon starts there with a Trev ban or grabs it early, because I think that's a great way to litmus test what else they've got in the tank.
Mega Luca isn't difficult for me to deal with.
Just a
Mega,
part of the retirement home
I call
crew
it
in the
Meg,
EU always
but
seems to find their way
it's not
back
difficult
into
for me to
the
deal with.
action. And there's no slouch on the sticks when they do
it's not
decide to
difficult
step
deal
up and
with. I
compete.
wouldn't ban any of
Now,
them.
if you're just joining us here today, I should mention they didn't
I don't
let me
ban
see the
anything
money
because I
or
don't
touch
find
the
anything
money.
to be difficult.
I should also mention that we have a map rotation this season, which is really exciting. Each week, we're going to start with a different map. This week, it is going to be the Kyogre map. However, the team that loses the first game will get to decide on either side selection, if they're picking first or second here in draft.
Every single one of your
map
items is terrible.
selection, and then the other team will choose the
God.
other, right? So we saw Kyogre, Groudon, even Rayquaza yesterday in our games.
Yeah, quickly, I want to highlight Mega Mewtwo X selected, and Mega Mewtwo Y is still on the table and available to be selected here, and it is. Volticon
All right, I'll wait till they both play out completely, and then
Mewtwo action happen on the side of Los Caducados, and Blastoise has been a high pick, high prio all weekend long.
Yeah, Blastoise really has been having a moment here. Next couple of picks over to Caducados. We've got the Crustle. We've got the Hoopa. You and I were talking a lot about this Hoopa yesterday, and I don't know if it's just a caster curse, and I'm ready to completely be wrong the second I bring this up. But we saw so many great Hoopa games, but for whatever felt like the Hoopa team just couldn't secure the W in any of them.
Yeah, no, great performances, but not enough to get the team over the finish line. One that did have a successful day in the support role, however, was that Eldegoss. Rarely picked up, but when it was in the game, it was pretty darn impressive. And Big Daddy Leon going to be taking up the Eldegoss mantle for the Volticons in this one.
Got ourselves a Talonflame coming here to game number 1. I love me some Talon, but I do feel like it's been having its own struggles. Final pick over to Volticons.
All right, so looking at both of these teams, both their bans were garbage. You didn't actually get rid of anything that I would see as viable. You can argue that like Psyduck's annoying, but it doesn't heal. So I'd love to see somebody with a Psyduck. You essentially have something that's useless on your team. You can tell me it does a lot of damage, and I'll be like, it's not a carry though. What your argument is it's supposed to be a support, and it doesn't. But to me, it doesn't do it. So I don't respect any of the bans. Mewtwo X, instead of having Muscle Band Razor Claw, they have Scope Lens, so I wouldn't expect it and stuff. Competitively speaking, I just rip you in half and then I keep it moving. Wouldn't even look at Crustle. I mean, they can't see the eye can, and I'll insult you for having terrible items and stuff. I imagine you're probably going to switch around, but even still, not having a curse item on Crustle is kind of is this and stuff. I like it because once again, I just don't treat you as somebody to even consider as like a threat. I just rip you in half and I keep it moving. Hoopa, Muscle Band, you're a special attacker. And you're like, this is the build. I could have sworn it took Overlord to do a different build, and then even people started doing that build. And it's like, there's no real logic behind that build. So people will do anything. Once again, it's not a physical attack. I get it does physical attack, but you know what's a better item than that? Miraidon. No curse item, huh? Cool. Don't most of the... I mean, make the argument like most speedsters pretty much do the same thing, so why choose Talon, who's Unite always a wall? And then you have terrible items, and then you don't have curse, and you have X attack. It's just, you're just tired to rip you guys to shreds with Zoroark and then keep them moving. Wouldn't even think about it twice. I'd pick Zoroark first. Wouldn't even respect you guys enough to pick it first and be like, yo, pick whatever you want. I don't care. I'm still gonna rip you in half. All right, we're going to the Blastoise. No curse item. Cool. I'd rip you in half and I wouldn't even think about it. Mewtwo Y. No curse item. Muscle Band. Wouldn't even think about you. Zacian. I actually like your build. Muscle Band, Razor Claw. It makes sense. So that you can rip objectives, tanks, and squishies all of the same. Razor Claw. If they try to run away, there's no running. It's fantastic. Maybe full heal, Flash, but I mean they're both interchangeable and depending on your playstyle. Eldegoss, I objectively feel that Hoopa is the best support, hands down. Nothing even gets close. So I like Eldegoss, but in comparison, it's not even on the same playing ground. And then you also have Muscle Band instead of Curse Item. I don't actually respect you. So I mean, you're going bump, 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 but I'm like, I'm just gonna rip you apart. Bad items, I'm just gonna rip you apart. Then you got Charizard. You got weakness policy and attack weight. Usually people have one or the other. You have both. That makes no sense. I wouldn't even respect you. I usually go curse and attack weight, but that's not the best build. I'd say arguably it's either muscle band and curse or for Charizard X.
We've got Zacian, Eldy, and then finally Mega Char X. The encounter rate of this Pokemon is just 5%. Encounter rate is not only the Pokemon's pick rate, but also how often it's banned. So if you look at a Pokemon like Blastoise, you look at a Pokemon like Mewtwo X, these Pokemon are seen in almost every single game, one way or another, either banned or picked. Charizard, shockingly, 5%. I don't know if it's really been banned ever once and barely picked.
Yeah, in comparison to LAIC, when its encounter rate was, mirroring that of what we're seeing of that Mewtwo X and Blastoise, as you mentioned. Any interesting bans that you see? I think Blaziken is kind of an interesting ban, a rarely low ban.
I feel like
I'm surprised that
at this
ban
point,
rate isn't starting
Blaziken's
to climb, as it always
Zacian.
seems to have a big impact when it jumps into the game.
You know what I think it is, Dupe Snacks, with Mimikyu? We talk about Pokemon like this from time to time. Mimikyu is one of those Pokemon where it's either you've got the Mimikyu player or you don't, right? There are Pokemon
a lot of people
in the game like this,
find Mimikyu to
if
be, like,
the enemy team has
difficult to deal with,
God level
Shedinja,
Mimikyu, you might be banning it
They
this
play
weird
freaking
non-factor,
play
as opposed to a Pokemon like, again, Mega
most
Mewtwo
Mimikyu
X,
players are
Blastoise,
cancer.
that we're just seeing
It's not
every
difficult to deal
single
with.
team pick up.
They're just
So you're either
cancer.
banning it
I'm
or
just
picking
like,
it yourself.
I prefer not to
Mimikyu
even be
is
involved
just,
in this
do
match.
they have it? Do they not? And if they do, you might target it here, which is what
came here for
speaking
these
of Los Caducados, they are our purple team. Volticons
for a
Unite,
competitive match and you
our
give me
orange
play
team.
rough
This is our
Mimikyu.
first match here in EU on broadcast today. Both of these teams are 1-1 in their region.
Great balance between the two top path Pokemon for each team going to be squaring up. Both do fairly decent job early. Squirtle, on the other hand, caught between a rock and a hard place, or I guess a Crustle and a Miraidon in their case, able to get out and not too much trouble yet. But I really want Volticons to get this Blastoise online quickly.
Yeah, absolutely.
I just wish that we had
Surf
fearless
Blastoise is so
societies tournaments.
unbelievably
So
good right now.
These
as we
losers
see
were
them trying
forced
to
pick something
push this
completely
out of
instead
the
of just
central
spamming
area
whatever's
here.
broken
One
at
of
the
the
moment.
best Pokemon at this invading role.
Nothing worse than going into the into a tournament with the pretext that this is going to be the most competitive teams, and you only have one person picking something like a Talonflame. Everyone else is picking something that's like Squirtle. I'm like, really?
You even saw
it's meta. It's boring.
the light bulb over their head, that EXP share, used on a lot of invade Pokemon now. Used to be the best held item in the game. After its rework, it is one of the most niche items in the game. However, if you're a Pokemon that's going on the invade and might not get some experience, it's pretty perfect.
Without a doubt, yeah, with the speed boost it provides. Unfortunately, it runs into a Gossifleur, which is one of the best A-pressing Pokemon in the game. Now, good pressure, 3v2, forces the Zacian to pick up a couple berries. Daddy Leon is going to try and A-press down with that Gossifleur. Hasn't evolved yet, which is a quick cause for concern. Crustle's low, good pressure on. Let's see if Snow can close the deal, and it's actually the Squirtle that gets credit. Evolution into Wartortle. Bang, there it is.
There it is. We've got the Charmeleon and the Wartortle right now on the board, and it looks like Talon is possibly looking to pick up a KO. The focus band was popped on the Wartortle, but it's not enough. We saw the Aerial Ace, by the way, for that Talonflame move. That is going to likely mean we are seeing Brave Bird Talonflame. You can play Fly Aerial Ace, but it's much less likely.
I love a Brave Bird Talonflame. I think it's a lot of fun. Fly, I don't want to say there's predictability, but you use when it jumps into on the ground so everybody can kind of plan for it a little bit. Brave Bird just seems to be an explosion out of nowhere and provides some really cool moments.
And here we go. Once again, we've got the Hoopa making their way to the center. Talonflame looking for this moment right here. And there it is. The Brave Bird for the secure on Reggie Drago, giving them that team-wide experience. And talk about very often that Reggie Drago does increase the player who secured its score speed by quite a bit.
Nice rotation here. Brave Bird right into the middle. Huge chunks of damage on that Charizard that's trying to flip the script on the Mega Mewtwo X. They're successful. Now it's onto the birds in the middle, but because of that KO, the presence is Volticon's. Brave Bird straight in. KO streak of 2, not enough in the tank to take down Leon. And now Volticon's is looking to push.
I'm gonna fix up the graphics just a little bit. Go down just a little bit. All right. I mean, it was a. Because I mean, it's a little loud. All right.
Zacian creating space,
Yeah,
and
so
now they're going to
better.
get their points in.
You know, thanks to that Eldegoss, I would say that Brave Bird was just too little too late. I don't know exactly how long they had it off cooldowns. It felt like they took too long to jump in. Regardless, with Eldegoss giving the healing to the Charizard, there was no way they could take it down all in one burst. The Char takes to the sky. Big time.
I mean, if you have-
I mean, that was a cheeky pluck there with the Mewtwo X again, trying to leash down the Eldegoss, but Charizard is there to step in as soon as they got their Unite move to take over the game. And you can see they are still in that Mega Charizard X form running through the central area of Kados.
Yeah, and they are trying to get a little payback for what happened earlier, right? Them moving them through their central area. Talonflame already in some trouble using a Unite move to try to push them around here in the central area. However, Char getting a charge beam, almost taken down for the KO
Rhydon's
here, but
missing
now the
their moves.
Rhydon getting punished for it. Well
Brave Bird
done.
in. That's what I'm talking about. A huge Brave Bird in from left field, gets a knockout there to at least try and bring some balance. But unfortunately, we saw that Flame Sweep was trying to push people around, and all they did was smash
using
into a
Trick
wall,
Hoopa.
as is the directive of that.
Every
Unite
time I
move.
see
It
Trick
says it
Hoopa,
at
I
the
just
bottom.
say,
It's the last
I'm just
line
like,
of
there's
the
only
text
4 people
on that maneuver.
against me.
Yeah, we'll also hit a wall and provide negative value. That is Talonflame's Unite move. That's the text. That's in-game.
Yeah, you can really tell how the power creep works when you look at a Pokemon like Talonflame versus any of the new ones, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It used to be a little like there was a negative aspect to it. Oh, you might hit a wall with it. And then Mewtwo's like hits every Pokemon on the map and reveals them and stuns them and hits wild Pokemon and hits objectives.
Hydro Typhoon, no slouch either. The Hydro knockout, and now Volticons is on this T1 trying to siege. Fizzy, I believe the Blastoise is a little low. Hoops goes rings unbound, goes for the stun, but the Blastoise is going to make it out. And now it's Los Caducados looking to make a move here. 4v4, good pull. Can they get the knockout? No. Brave Bird deep engaged. Put the pressure. There's a flame sweep straight into a wall to get themselves knocked out. Hashtag negative value.
Negative value.
Up for the smoke right on top of Regice, and now the presence is all for Volticons.
And here we go. They're looking for the secure right here. Easy secure there for the Zacian after they pushed out Los Caducados. We have the Crustle using their Unite move. Big time stun, but they're going to see if they can, weather this storm long enough for Talonflame to make a play. Unfortunately, Volticons are so tanky right now that it looks like Talon can't even jump in for this fight. Also, level-wise, Talonflame level 12, which isn't bad, but when you're one of these speedsters, you definitely advantage on your opponents. That's how you're going to be able to pick up these huge burst KOs.
Quickly scooped up is that Hoopa. They Phantom Force across the wall there to save themselves. Good Rock Tomb, Brave Bird engagement, but again, the tankiness of some of these Pokemon does not allow them to convert into knockouts here.
Mewtwo Unite move, letting them know exactly where the players are and trying to stop the score in the bottom path. It did not matter. We're going to have Charizard and Blastoise attempting to score on this tier 2, and all the points do go in. Huge for Volticons. They are up 230 to 12 right now, and it feels like scoring, for whatever reason, has been a bit of an afterthought in this match as I've been casting it. And then I look at the scoreboard, and it's devastating for Los Caducados.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Kadokados.
Volticons, we've been watching the fights, and they're doing a good job just
Most
scoring
Kadokados
some
aren't
cheeky
even,
points other places on the
participate
map.
in the game.
So not only are they doing well in these fights, they're not committing all their members to win those fights either. And you can see when you're ahead on levels that's an opportunity that you have. Getting out of dodge here is Tibby going to be able to escape that thunder that's chasing them down.
Yeah, going to peel away from this. Level-wise and points-wise, things are great for Volticons right here. You know, as you start to head towards these Kyogre, Groudon, Rayquaza fights, Dubsnacks,
14 on
a
your
lot
char,
of it really comes down to what
13
team
on
needs to make a
Zacian.
play and what that play is going to look like. And it's always scary to be the team that needs the catch. How fight could start with a big catch on something like that. Zacian into a Rock Tomb, into a Brave Bird. Registeel is going to be an easy secure, however, for Volticons. And man, a level 14 Mega Charizard with Registeel buff is terrifying.
Oh, okay.
It absolutely is. Oh, huge surf pin to the wall.
over.
Rock Tomb is there as well. Scooped up for a knockout secure.
It's
2 players
over.
down. 4 seconds
It's
until
over.
Kyogre hits the map. 3 players down now. Volticons in complete control.
Yeah, they're just
the
gonna rip
surf
it.
is there for the separation. Hydro Pump creates the space. Trying to move own hero here. And it's easily taken down by Volticons as they follow the chase. They're going to get more knockouts. And now they're going to stack more points.
Boy, I mean, we saw the play there with the Brave Bird Talon, right? They had Trick on them. They Brave Birded in. They were going to
see
take the
it.
Phantom
I didn't
Force
see the
back
vision.
out of that fight.
It's just like,
I don't know if they
what are
had
you doing?
vision, if they were just kind of looking for them in that moment. They completely sort of missed and got caught. That just seemed like such a wild moment to throw a Brave Bird. Maybe they actually saw them. I really felt.
Yeah.
Look how Volticons is positioning. Tons of points lead here.
I mean, they don't
for
need to
them.
score.
That
They don't
was a
need to do
weird way
anything.
to say that. Don't know why I used those words. But they're trying to set a trap and really wait for Los Caducados to expose where they are, and then not only play this kind of defense. And so far, it's looking pretty decent.
Yeah, and here we go. And trying to score here. Miraidon able to stop this. They actually had an opportunity possibly right there with the stun. We do have Charizard moving forward and Los Caducados making a stand at this tier 1 goal zone. 98 points go in. The Brave Bird looking for a KO, but no one is down on Volticons. They are pushing them back. The Psy Strike, the Brave Bird, it does not pick up the KO, and they are gone, Dubsnacks. 90-18, and the points will continue to stack up for Volticons.
Yeah, believe it or not, Volticons was holding down that fight 3v5, and they were able to score on the backside. Burger in. I believe Blastoise got a near Hundo Burger in, maybe 80, 90 points. And you can see that this lead now is insurmountable in the last 10 seconds.
Yeah, it feels like Volticon's just really in control of this game. For really all of it. And every time we've seen Mega Char X here on broadcast, it's been doing really well still. Maybe underrated by some of these pro teams.
I think the change that we're seeing and where it's finding success is what you called out yesterday, Cowboy, which is it's not using its Unite move to engage. It's using its Unite move to secure knockouts, to be the follow-up Pokemon there, instead of the big kind of like tanky frontliner that sometimes you see out of maybe like a Zacian, right? That's kind of getting into the mix and throwing things around. And I love the use of that. And I think that's why we're seeing it find some success. It's just a little bit of a switch up on how you actually approach the game with that Pokemon.
Here's one of the early fights, and we, finally got to see, yes, it will be a Brave Bird Talonflame. Unfortunately for Talon, they just weren't a lot of big KOs in any of these moments. And then Char getting this level lead early, it's 9 minutes at the it's level 9 at the 7-minute mark. And at that point, it's just really difficult to shut this thing down.
So
it's got its Unite move super early. They can making sure it has its Unite at every
they can
big
be over
fight
level,
they run
under
into.
level. I don't care. It's all the same.
I mean, Los Caducados shown signs of life here in this moment of the game, trying to get onto this goal zone. But look at that. The immediate reposition Hydro Pump puts the Talonflame on the backside. They have to flame sweep all the way back to try and save. Can't get out. Big problems here. Los Caducados, I understood what they were going for. We've seen the success with the Hoopa Talonflame combination, especially with the Trick Phantom Force cleverness that they can bring to the table, but it was never really used for value.
If I remember right, and I don't know the exact numbers on it, so I apologize for that, but there was actually a nerf to a And I think it's the timing in which you can like portal back has been reduced, so you have to do it much faster. But regardless of how that turned out, it just was not a winning combination in this game. Once again, another game where Hoopa feels like could have been a great choice. He just didn't show up. What did is Snow on this Mega Charizard?
Nah, man,
I'm properly representing the Volticons logo there. Right under it is that Mega Charizard X. 63,000 damage, 10 knockouts, and of course the score is secondary, or I guess tertiary, to those two stats, because at that point it just became incredibly easy.
Yeah, and I mean, you look at the items on this thing, you've got weakness policy and an attack weight, which was stacked up very, very early. So every time this thing is moving in for a fight, it has a huge level advantage, and it has the most attack stat possible, essentially. It's just really difficult for Kadokados to deal with, you know, picking up a lot of moments where that first evolution unite move gets a KO, and then it's just the domino effect. Every member of Kadokados,
like I said, I want Urshifu.
You know, I must say, we saw Gerard go onto the Crustle here, and after the performance on the Trevenant, I wouldn't have minded to see that Trevenant again here, give them a good sign of life, because they were absolutely the facilitator, and I think that might be a clever change they can make going into game 2 here. The heat map of Snow is everywhere. You know, they lived in that central area. They made sure they're getting their experience, getting their stacks, and after that, it was take the fight wherever you could find it.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at a heat map like this, all this says to me is this thing, you know, ran amok all game. They made it to every single fight they possibly could. They were top path when their team was top, bottom path when their team was bottom, pushing even into the enemy central area quite a few times. This just looks like the heat map of a Pokemon that absolutely dominated every moment they were in.
Without a doubt. Without a doubt. If I'm Volticons, I'm feeling pretty darn good on how they kicked off their day here. Los Kadokados, again, I mean, I don't think that their draft was egregious by any means. I would love to see Gerarwi back on that Trevenant, as mentioned. I don't know. Hoopa, despite the way it looks and despite the way it has performed, has just not been helping these teams find success on broadcast. So that is definitely a possible switch up worth considering as well.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, I expect more out of Hoopa. I'm wondering if, you know, Trick in this moment just did not give them enough that they could fight with, right? It just wasn't a big enough shield. It wasn't a big enough factor. Oftentimes you're going to be seeing that hyperspace hole, you know, so your team has an ability to kind of reset and heal. However, it didn't feel like they were giving them much of an option to do that anyway, right? I mean, as soon as they moved in, it was just Charizard X with the delete button, you know, through the entire squad. I would definitely like to see a different look as we head into our next game. Talon also, again, a Pokemon I love, has really not been performing well in our league so far.
Is Clefable. So I would like to see, you know, Nyatt maybe consider a Clefable. I mean, it's been particularly solid in the EU region specifically. We saw it a little bit yesterday, and I thought it was definitely worth consideration, or more so than we've seen out of other regions and other teams. Really get that healing factor up, have that be just another hill that the opposition has to climb. But if I'm on the Volticon side of this, I'm saying let's just run that back, because that looked great.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. I mean, when you have such a dominant game, you would love to get a lot of that back. I don't think we're going to see a reality where Mega Char X is banned out. Right. I mean, it's just one of those Pokemon that has not even had a 5% encounter rate. But when you run into something that tough and they know how to play it, maybe it is time to target ban your opponents here in our next game.
There's a lot of options that they can do. Some Pokemon that we haven't seen too much out of the EU region. Where would you like to see? What is something we've seen maybe in the later stages, maybe NA, for example, that we haven't been seeing a lot out of EU? For example, like Psyduck. I feel like it was banned in that game, but it's something that we haven't seen too much in EU, even when it hasn't been banned.
You know, something that I'm like, just in general, a Pokemon I'm kind of surprised I haven't seen more of. And I understand it is not the top meta Pokemon in the game right now. I am surprised that we've seen such a small amount of Glaceon. I think we saw one Glaceon game all day. And this thing is so good that it is receiving a nerf on Thursday, I think, of this week, when the next patch is coming to Unite. There are some of the patch details were revealed at ACL yesterday. And Glaceon is receiving getting a nerf for good reason. The thing is crazy, and I can't believe more teams are not attempting to work that into their composition somewhere, especially on some of the
crazy.
more
It's point and
open
click
maps, right? Like this next map, we're getting word that
the move set of bots.
That map is a lot more.
Yeah, I want to go to competitive Pokemon to play the move set of
your sure hits. But even on a map where your opponents can hide in a variety of ways in tall grass, you only need to see them for a second to just clip them with that icicle spear, and then it just starts following them. So Glaceon is one of those Pokemon that I'm kind of shocked to see such a small amount of. How about you?
If I see somebody play,
I'm going to go to just some of my personal
Glaceon,
favorites. One, because I enjoy
respect
watching them,
team.
but two, there's always niche cases where the draft shakes out that the Pokemon can be incredibly strong. So I know Niantic can play a very solid Sableye.
I'm not playing it.
It might be time to get clever now. I mean, Volticon's played a pretty straight up composition. Not a lot of tricks in there. It was just front to back coming for you. And those are the moments when everything feels incredibly predictable, is when something like Sableye can throw a big level of unpredictability to what is a normal standardized plan. So that is something I'd personally like to see more of just throughout this weekend, not necessarily just in this game.
All right, we're taking a look at our bands right here. We've got Zacian, we've got the Mimikyu once again, and I did see from Doobsnacks, he was tagging you and me. From Chef, he was letting us know that Snow apparently annihilated Avalanche with Mimikyu yesterday, so that is why you were seeing that targeted ban there from Los Caducados. We have Groudon again as our map. First pick is going to be over to our purple side, Los Caducados. There are all of our bands here. Vaporeon, a top ban for sure.
Ah, crud. Because I'm in the middle of a bot game. Shoot.
And now Los Caducados is going to have their
and it's early too, so I still got like 8 more minutes.
No. Yeah.
So now we can have Mega Gyarados and Mega Mewtwo X on the side of Volticons if we want. And I can't imagine they're going Lapras here. There's no way. There's no way that's where you end up with this decision.
Yeah, I mean, you definitely don't want to hand over the fish, and they don't. There is Mega Gyarados. There is Mega Mewtwo. Why? Over to the side of Los Caducados, we can start to fill out the team with their support and defender core. We also can steal away that Charizard. Once you already have Mega Gyarados, it doesn't feel like you'll probably take Mega Char, but you could throw it the central area. Gyarados top, Mewtwo bottom. We'll see what they go with.
Mega Mewtwo X makes sense. Latias makes less so for me right now, but there's an opportunity for their strategy to develop a little bit further here, as Volticons still have a lot of great options in the flow of what's going on so far. And Leon grabbing the Hoopa, cutting off Naya from that, and just in case they're going to go Latias into like kind of a more attacker role, and Fizzy grabbing Mamoswine.
Yeah, Mamoswine here, a really powerful pick. I think it's I think Slash over on Evos now, formerly of LG, was talking about how good Mamoswine still is. I think it's still an extremely good defender pick in this meta. Los Caducados with their final couple of picks right here. Yeah, Nihat yesterday, I think we did see them on Latias, right? I remember it being pretty solid. I love Latias right now. I think it's just so great. And the caster curse has been lifted. Glaceon makes its way. Now it has to lose, unfortunately. I'm so sorry, Los Caducados, but I'm glad you picked it.
Oh, yeah, I mean, they're built. Or their teams. Mega Luca. So I'm not worried about this thing. This thing usually does nothing. You can walk away from it. Mewtwo X. It's like you already have Lucario, so what's the point of both of them? Latias. So you know how like there's supports, right? And then this thing doesn't support. That's how I feel about it. I'm like, oh, it does support as a like a weaker carry. Better than a weaker carry, a carry. Glaceon, pointing have no skill. And then Mew usually does underperforms in damage and stuff like that. So going against their team, I wouldn't even respect them. You have no defender. You have no real legitimate healer. I wouldn't respect you. I'd rip you guys apart. Wouldn't even think about it twice. Be like, this match over with. Team on the right, they got Mega Meg or Mega Gyarados. I mean, I don't respect it. I don't worry about it too much because it's like not worry about it. It's not something that's difficult. It's super easy to like counter and stuff like that. So much like whatever. What else they got? They got Y. They gave him Y again. Okay. What is it, like the best freaking auto attacker and stuff you gave? Okay. Doesn't make sense to me, but whatever. What else is there? I'm getting hit by the bots, and they won't stop. I was dodging them for the first couple of minutes, and unfortunately, as a support, they're all running up as if I can't KO them. And it's just the Goss level 3 won't even evolve, bro. To the freaking bots. What was that? Mamoswine is like what is it? A worse freaking Blastoise. It's supposed to be underneath the same premise of being annoying. It's not. It's not. It tries and fails. Don't take it seriously and stuff. Because it has a 3-stage evolution and stuff. If it was only a 2-stage evolution or evolved sooner and stuff, it'd be more of a. It doesn't. It's just a worse version of Blastoise. I can't. I'm actually getting just nonstop attacked by these bots, fighting all of them as a freaking Sableye. I'm just like, ugh. Now they got Hoopa, no curse item, muscle band, focus band, just 2 useless items on a Hoopa. It's like easily just re-heal, but it clearly shows that you're not going to use portals, which is just like I just rip you apart and wouldn't even respect you. You try to run away with a trick, and I just laugh and rip you apart. And then Talon again. This teams must really like Talon or something, like because out of all the speedsters, it's definitely not the best one. I'm getting attacked by this
curse
box.
action going on. We've got Glaceon on one side and Hoopa on the other. So technically,
Level
we have
15
one of the
with the
curses has to be
Sableye,
broken.
I'm not
in this
bragging.
game.
It's just
Snow
they just won't leave me
Talonflame,
alone.
And I kind of feel
Like
like
I'm a
this
support
is the
trying to just
rubbing
fall.
your nose in it type of back-to-back pick here.
Yeah, Volticons, I mean, the thing I'm obviously most scared of, and Los Caducados should be, is Mega Gyarados. That is just brutal.
Really?
Also, when you have Glaceon, you have 2 Pokemon on the side of Volticons that are able to essentially nullify your Icicle Spear, sort of break it, and make sure that you're not doing damage to them while they're either flying in the air or underwater with that Gyarados Unite move. But if the items stay the same on this Glaceon, there is a reality this is Icy Wind. So we'll see.
In fact, they don't have
That would
curse.
be
I
an
don't respect
interesting
them enough to be
selection.
like, oh, I just
Icicle
rip everyone
Spear, especially
apart.
with the Mamoswine sitting up front. It's a great way to just eviscerate that HP pool, especially if Hoopa's going more of a trick Phantom Force, locking in on the Talonflame, trying to, again, Los Caducados was trying to do in game 1.
Pretty much.
That means that Mamoswine is going to be left exposed, which means the Icicle Spear can find more value. But to your point,
If they go for it, I
if
feel
they
like
do
go
decide to go Icy
Ice
Wind,
Band.
maybe that's just hedging against the bets of the Mega Gyarados when it goes underwater, or the Talonflame if it takes fly.
And we're going to find out what it looks like here as we head to game number 2. Los Caducados, your purple team. Volticons Unite, your orange team. Dominant game 1 for Volticons as we are getting ready for game 2 here. A bit of a split central area for Los Caducados. Obviously, Glaceon would like level 6 ultimately, but for both of these Pokemon to get online and get their first little power spike, they only need level 4.
Yeah, this is a Mewtwo X down here in the bottom path on the 1v2, and it's going to be tough. Obviously, another Mewtwo there, plus the freeze from the Swinub is enough to get a pretty Fisher-Price knockout. And now Los Caducados has to adjust by having a big over-rotation top. We'll see what they can do to find value here.
It is the Icy Wind as
Wind.
4 players of Los Caducados move towards this goal zone, and here comes Snow on the Talonflame, trying to push them back. That was a flame sweep, which leads me to believe that this is going to be a fly Talonflame as they peel away.
Braver,
Yeah, you're going to grab those easy not to
aerial
there,
ace
and
fly.
this poor Mewtwo X
I
right
just
down
don't like
here
fly
is
or
just stuck
aerial ace.
all by themselves. I think it's Gerardweed that is taking that mantle. 3v1 here, tons of pressure, easy knockout, and that's an evolved into Pillow-Swine. Now let's just see if
These
they can
matches,
get Mammoth
man, they
Swine
take
before
forever.
the 2-minute mark.
It's a callback. That's an official day 1 callback here in day 2. Watch all 50 hours of Pokemon Unite to understand all of our callbacks.
Listen, it wouldn't be us if there weren't any callbacks.
It's true. We had a marble bit that we didn't know would go on for 18 months.
But it did, because we're unstoppable, just like the marble bit. Now, we did see Hoopa go hyperspace hole here, so no trick Phantom Force shenanigans. We are just going to be putting portals down, which lends itself better to Talonflame with Fly, right? Good little pull on the Hoopa, easy knockout there, which gives Los Caducados a great opportunity to secure this Regidrago for themselves.
You know, I got to say, I really love that Los Caducados went with something like really different and like risky, right? They left Mewtwo in the bottom path all alone. They crashed 4 top. They threw something very unexpected and different. Cons here. Huge fly catches 2. We're going to see if Nihat can actually get away from that. They cannot. The Psy Strike picks up that KO. Talonflame level 8 here, but Glaceon keeping pace almost
useless.
A good engagement attempt. Fly crash lands, easy knockout. Now it's just the Glaceon sitting on pad, getting their icicles surrounding them, getting themselves ready to charge. Big Icy Wind, good damage, but the Talonflame still finds its mark. At least they get one back the other way, do Los Caducados in the form of a Pillow-Swine. Those 3v2, but the 3 players are on the...
I just noticed this. Everyone on Los Caducados is a bot. Name. None of them picked anyone that aims. If I had to go against this team, bro, I'm not shaking your hands. None of you aim, bro. We went into this tournament with that we're going to be the most competitive pros playing this game at the highest level. None of you aim.
Retreat right now as they're trying to formulate their next attack.
And here we go. We do have a Unite move on the Glaceon. They're looking at Registeel. They're hitting it with the Icy Wind. They're doing some solid damage to it. Steel walking back. Talonflame looking for the security. It goes down to the Mewtwo.
The pressure on. Icy Wind is moving forward. The glacial stage has been set, and it's time to put on a show, says Los Caducados. The Fly
You have one
takes
job.
up and actually goes into a retreat here. The
One
side strike
job.
going from long range, putting damage on, but really it almost feels like they're just yelling at each other across the fence. Oh, there's a quick little Glaceon picked up, repositioned, and then pushed back through for the Pillow-Swine. They're still taking tons of damage. Huge flame sweep actually finds its mark, and a wall.
This is a much better
of course.
game for
It's
Los
in the
Caducados.
text. We said
Nice
it.
game. They
Is
didn't even
that a
show
call?
up.
Beautiful stuff right here, and I'm hearing from production it's not an official callback. I'm so sorry, dude. That's another one that, I mean, the refs on that one. That was a callback, but I don't know.
Well, you know who wasn't on the side of the Buffalo Bills was the refs yesterday. Here we go. Let's get into the rest of this game. 162-106. Los Caducados, despite some shaky fights, finding their way into victory on the scoreboard so far.
Yeah, and look at this here. Los Caducados, that entire time they left Lucario path all by their lonesome. Level 11 right now, just cooking by themselves in the kitchen. And things are going well for Los Caducados here in game number 2, looking much better than game 1.
I agree. I mean, they're actually meeting parity level. Good Mewtwo Unite out of Volticons. They know where everyone is. What are they going to do with that information? Gyarados goes straight in. They are holding their Unite move. Good opportunity for them to hit it.
Nice.
Okay, that was a sick flame sweep. That one was awesome. That was nowhere, and I loved every bit of it. They did get a knockout, but now they're all alone from that crazy flame sweep.
Technically, I guess, according to the refs, that flame sweep was a callback. The callback there.
Well, you know, as Snow annihilated Avalanche, which seems fitting, or Avalanche is comprised of Snow, whatever Chef wrote there, very confusing. We're going to need a clarification probably from our stats team on that.
Stats team, figure out exactly what Doomstacks is confused by, and then what avalanches are made up of, and how much of that is snow. We're going to need that in the next 5 seconds.
Good secure here on the Regieleki by Volticons, and decent spacing by Mega Gyarados, who is going to try and get a score. Regieleki hits, good points parity coming your way if you're Volticons. They just got to get a couple cheeky.
Nice little portal sending the Gyarados back. They're going to get all of that safe farm in the top path here. Snow, this is exactly why you play Talonflame in these moments, right? You're grabbed by Mewtwo. You have targeted boosted on you from Mew. You have possibly Icicle Spear Glaceon. You have the Dragon Pulse. All of that negated by you taking to the skies. Really great stuff. And Talonflame is a hard counter to some of these moves.
Mega Lucario is online. So is Mega Mewtwo X. They step up and cut off the Hoopa, who is holding their Unite move, maybe looking to use it in that moment. Counter scoring happening on the side of Volticons as they attack that tier 2. And look at these scores, the 261, 247. We are miles different than what happened here in game 1.
Yeah, Los Caducados is scrapping here in game number 2. Look at that beautiful catch there by the Future Sight. Mewtwo, it felt like they did have the Future Sight to be right there.
This is not even
ready for that. For the Glaceon online at level 12, Mega Lucario sitting at level 13 right now. And you know, the Gyarados on the side of Volticons has been an absolute non-factor, it's felt like.
Yeah, it really has. It hasn't been able to really leverage its level lead when it had it, and now that it doesn't have it anymore, everything is becoming increasingly more difficult. About 90 to 99% snow and a typical avalanche during movement. I love that. That other 1 to 10% is like skiers and rocks and trees.
Yeah,
I don't even know where you saw that information. Where was that?
It's in the Discord.
Okay, I was like, where are we getting this avalanche information right now? As we actually maybe have our fight early right here. Unite moves flying already.
That's a very good push
Gyarados
from
goes
Los
down once
Caducados.
again. No Unite move. This may be it for Los Caducados.
That was all good secure on the Mega Mewtwo X, which would have brought some balance to the Mega Gyarados getting knocked out. However, all the Unite moves are there. We're going for a straight rip. Here it is. The Unite moves are down. We're trying to create some space. Groudon is low. Let's see where it goes. And it was taken by Volticon's Unite.
I love Mew. I will pick Mew in the tournament.
And it goes from a non-factor to the determining factor as it's a 10-jack Queen King Ace for Volticons, and that's a Groudon for them, and that's a win for burgers for them.
Amazing stuff from Volticons. You know, Los Caducados, they took out Mega Gyarados. I think they probably took their best possible fight they could after they got rid of Mega Gyarados, and it hadn't even used its Unite move yet. Unfortunately for them, they were just not able to rip it fast enough.
No, I mean, that wasn't even a fight. That was just everybody screaming, ah, and just throwing their moves at Groudon and hoping that they came down with it. For Volticons, fortunately, it was them. And at that point, moves are getting thrown and you get the buff, especially with the damage boost that Groudon provides. Yeah, that's pretty much curtains. So a big of a chaotic finish, but Volticons eke it out.
Yeah, and here we go. Los Caducados trying to find something at the end of this match here. Unfortunately, they just don't even have enough Eos energy to really, even this game up. You would have to have Volticons throw themselves at Los Caducados, give up a bunch of KOs, and then score. So with how much Eos could have just sat in their base and not even looked at Los Caducados and won the match there.
Yeah, but instead they wanted to bump those stats up. Worth noting there, I was just about to say, it's an Icicle Fang, an Ice Fang, excuse me, high horsepower Mammoth Swan. I feel like we're used to seeing Ice Fang Earthquake. So that was just a fun switch up, at least to me. I found that interesting.
No, I totally agree. A little bit of a different flavor there. You've obviously got this like big team-wide push. If you catch with the Ice Fang first, you are able to then shove one of your opponents the direction you want, right? Like you can pick them up, throw them over your shoulders like a continental Mamoswine, and then push them right towards your team, which is an exciting.
Very much so is. Volticons Unite go 2-0 in this matchup here, but that second game was further than what I believe that scoreline reflects.
Not really.
Oh yeah, such a close game. Way better from Los Caducados. It felt like they were alive in this game. Girari, once again, I feel like they are just such a great playmaker for their squad. You absolutely love to see it.
Yeah, I mean, they were here on this Mewtwo X, really being an impact. Time they didn't really seem as big of an impact was on the Crustle. So I love to see that they put them on a Pokemon where they could really feel like they had some agency in these fights, because they do a great job for Los Caducados when they decide to knuckle up.
I will say Snow also had a really interesting strategy with Talonflame that I think a lot of players do, which is hit their opponents with their Unite move. I think it's just not a Talonflame strategy. And obviously that's a bit of a joke, but I'm actually serious. Was that play I was talking about? But I'm actually serious. They actually lined up flame sweeps before they would go into engage. A lot of times they would kind of sneak around to line a flame sweep rather than do what most Talonflames do, which is land into the entirety of the enemy team and then panic, use their Unite.
Yeah, whereas exactly to your point, much like the end of this battle here at Groudon, where everybody was just screaming at their screens and throwing their moves into the center, that's a little bit how typical Talonflames use the flame sweep, right? It's just, I'm in deep waters, they start screaming, sweep straight into a wall and get knocked down anyways.
The concept of a lot of Talonflames is I'm here and then I fly over here. It's dangerous over here. So I gotta go back over here. That's what I got.
But then you go back over here, you go across you to me. Whoa. Bink. We did it.
We have two different pens. Yeah.
It would have been awesome if you didn't say that. No. Magic. Magicians don't give up their tricks. But
we're like those kind of magicians where it looks
Or
like
downtown,
we're screwing
so
up the whole
we'll put
time.
another
Then in
bug
the end, they go, wait, were they the best ever? And pretending to screw up? I think we're those kind of magicians, actually. I think
yeah,
production wanted
one.
us to go to break, but I didn't fully hear it.
I love it. I didn't hear anything either. So it's break time, I think. So maybe we'll go to break and we will all find out together. Let's see what happens.
Really undercuts me saying we were good at our jobs. Are we going to break?
Go to break. Okay, there it is. Wait, is this a break?
This man, Eos Cookie, Potion for Crustle. I just find it to be most fun. The cookie is unnecessary, and potion isn't really a meta. But like I said, fun. And that's all I'm going for the parcel. What is this?
And welcome back, everyone, to the Unite Esports Regional Leagues. We have had a pretty great start, but we have also started the LATAM off-stream matches, which I've been lurking in the tall grass, and I want to talk about them because been some pretty fire matches in that region. So to start off with, we had DreamMax Esports going up against Tuzzy Esports. So we have our draft there. Some pretty stock standard picks, I think, very similar to what we ended up seeing yesterday. Tuzzy Esports actually had a great start to this first game, but I feel like this is where the tides really DreamMax during this game. They managed to secure that Reggie Alecki, and even with all of their Tuzzy Esports, unfortunately ended up losing this top pad, which ended up giving DreamMax Esports the lead up until, well, the very end.
You talking about last week?
If we go to our next replay here, we have our Kyogre. We can see that multiple members of DreamMax Esports were down here, and Tuzzy, they with the Kyogre. But, you know, DreamMax, they didn't end up giving up until the end, but, well, U2Y just coming in, getting the secure for Tuzzy and taking that win of the day. But if we head on into our next one, once again, pretty stock standard draft across.
Oh, jeez. Screw it. I'll just go with
one
it.
thing I do want to point out, we
I'm
have
in
a
too deep
drag
in the game.
being played by Ju Games there, but pretty much stalemate between these two teams during this second game, trying to find those openings. And I mean, even then in this fight, they were just hanging at each other once again and not really able to find those openings. Thankfully, DreamHack did the smart thing and retreated pad. That way they could just go and regroup for their second fight. And but as they tried to regroup here, Tuzi took the opportunity to go in for the rip. And well, I think this is, despite this, we'll fast forward here. We can see them going in for their dunks and everything, but a great defense from DreamHack Esports. If we have our timer come up here, DreamHack. Despite Tuzi getting the Kyogre, DreamHack managed to still take the game by hold lead with their back caps. So that is going to go to a game 3 situation between DreamHack and Tuzi Esports. These off streamers are held by community streams if you do want to watch them live, but I'll come back after our other games with Zoinks and Chef. The updates for how that pans on out. So Zoinks and Chef, take it away.
Kello, for bringing us a very intense matchup between those two LATAM teams. I can't wait to see what the conclusion of that one is, and a formidable defense. Only a few seconds left. That is wild stuff. But Chef, good back in the caster booth. How you doing, my friend?
I'm good. I haven't been in here for a while. I was just saying, I was trying to time out when the last time I was in here was, and it may have been Worlds. No, actually, I think I did some community stuff. But it's been a good first day, and I'm sad that I didn't get to cast any of the matches, but we get to remedy that now. So excited to start off with EU, who honestly I am just so surprised by how close this region is in parity.
I am right there with you. I think EU might be the front runner for most exciting region when it comes to the entirety of all 8 teams. Just a reminder of where we got on the power rankings so far. EU's the toughest one. I got to rotate the most for EU here, but I'm pretty good about our top end. In that last matchup, by the way, Los Caracados just dropping very tough opponent, but it was a really fun match to start the broadcast. This next one we are going to be watching, though, is going to be
power
between
rankings.
Komai and J'aime la Poulet.
A
really interesting match. We do want to just give everybody kind of an update about what's going to be going on. J'aime la Poulet did receive a game loss for some stuff that
Los
went on in
Caracados
game
essentially
so
doesn't
game
aim.
number 2 here, Komai will be starting our series 1-0. This did mean that J'aime la Poulet had choice of side or draft. Ends up, we're going to Groudon, and this will essentially be our game number 2. Hope that catches everybody up.
Yeah, also just to catch everybody up, going to be terrible at pronouncing that. You're actually doing quite well, but I think we should start making Doob Snacks just cast every single game of J'aime la Poulet. We're just gonna look like fools. But
Doob Snacks and I are both Canadian, but he's from the part of Canada where we really should be speaking French. I'm where I legally should, but it's fine.
All right, that's fair. You didn't get any of those skills for all these French teams. We have a lot of French teams actually. Of course, this being one of them, but going up against Komai is going to be a pretty tough opponent even to begin with. They are currently first on your power ranking.
No, Komai is actually going to be in third place.
Oh, I was not paying attention.
They started off 0-1 yesterday after some pretty tough opponents,
right.
but so Komai definitely going to be hunting for a big bounce back. Well, obviously, so will J'aime la Poulet, I'm sure, are looking to have that exact same. Oh my word, Wonderchef, the Traffy call out. That is a Greninja ban from Komai Esport, not wanting to deal with the Gren from J'aime la Poulet, which has been a pretty powerful Pokemon in their hands, specifically with that Surf Smokescreen set.
Really? Yeah, so again, I did miss the matches and some of the moments of the matches yesterday, but
you scared of a Gren?
That was the moment where there was like some sort of like 6 KO streaming like
Mega
that going on,
just
a ton of KOs yesterday. So I thought that was really cool to see, kind of get to see it on the side. And yeah, that is definitely a huge call out. But the Mew's showing up as expected. I would certainly not be surprised if we did once again see the Mewtwo Y and X. We're in the Mewtwo meta right now.
Yeah, it has been for a little bit. Mewtwo X will be received coming. It'll be interesting to see.
I no longer
if that
respect
affects the landscape too much, but Gecko Kami will be on this.
They've got a Mewtwo X with
showing up in the banning phase a decent amount across a few of the regions, but it feels
they don't know what they're doing.
Pokemon as a ban, but
they're
missing it this time around. Instead, J'aime la Poulet are leading into the Blissey, which we haven't seen too much, but the Mammal Swine, which we've seen a lot, very, very impactful.
Their
Quite
Mammoth
interesting to see
Swine
the
build,
Blitzy. There
terrible.
are a lot of open support options
Come
right
on,
now.
picks up Talonflame,
literally
terrible.
100, I should say, I guess, are open. So going for that pretty early on is an interesting
V2X,
pick. And
terrible.
we've been
Their
seeing
build,
such good
terrible.
work from. I mean, basically, the
Umbreon,
casters last
I
set
love
talked about it
Umbreon.
completely.
Their build.
A lot about the Talonflame, which has I
This is not
always say
terrible.
it's a very
just
literal
need
hit or
curse.
miss Pokemon.
I mean, if you're not gonna do
it's had
damage
some
with
great
it,
hits. It's had some.
you
In the last set, it
so
had
it's
both of
fine.
them, but as well yesterday, over Gatlu, we've seen play that Pokemon a lot.
Their Crustle
Yeah,
build,
exactly.
terrible.
Ooh, okay.
Absol,
We have the Absol and the
Terrible.
Scizor locked in, and currently that
From
item
Muscle
set being played, we might see a little bit of Scizor in one of our
Oh,
off-stream
Scopeland
EU
sucks.
matches
The
earlier
Scopeland
today.
sucks.
We
It
actually
sucked
did see, I believe it
ever
was
since they
Klaus
nerfed it.
playing the Scizor earlier on in one of our matches. So just a
Scizor
heads up, this
without
Pokemon is
a
seeing some
Razor
play
Claw.
in EU. We are seeing the item build
And
switch
without curse
around a
items.
little bit though, but
The build
Muscle Band
sucks.
could still lead into that.
The-
Another Pokemon that I
the
think you and I
Decidueye
both really
build
enjoy though, Wonder Chef,
sucks.
especially
No curse
in this
item.
EU region. We got to see putting together a pretty solid bird comp.
It is bird comp. I feel like we've seen a lot of eras where we've seen both of these particular birds, but I really like this combination in general. I think the Crustle, Gex Crustle, is going to be
On
a
this side,
monster choice for this matchup. There's
Dumbledore,
options on the side of Gem de Palais to
Dumbledore.
get out of a Rock Tomb, and I'm not sure if it's going to be fly from
Absol's the only
Gatlu
one that aims on
or
their
not,
team.
but we're got them in for the
They don't
Talon
come
Flames,
high.
and to trap them in, of course, for that Spirit
Bessie.
Shackle, and they could get some really
Bessie
good
and
picks
Talon are
if they do
honestly
manage
good.
to find those
Oh,
moments. Maybe catch out a Mewtwo
And
and
it
just get rid of that
actually-
Mewtwo to
I
start
didn't
things
notice.
off. Things could go very well for Kamai.
Yeah, I completely agree, Chef. Like, Crustle
I
does
don't-
a
I
lot
don't
of things
believe in
really
it.
well. One of them, like you just mentioned, is amazing
Oh, yeah.
at trapping targets with minimal mobility.
I'm going
And
with
the other
Kamai
one is
only
Crustle
because
is one of
two
the
of
best
their
defenders in the
people actually
game
have to
at just
aim.
keeping making sure you are forcing them to not be able to go anywhere, and it's really hard to get out of the way of a giant X-Scissor right in your face, right? But yeah, let's get into it. Jean Le Palais will be
Yeah, it is.
behind one
Oh, yeah.
game. They'll be on the purple side. Komai Esport going to be on the orange
Or
side.
do any dash.
That's
this
right. I
high.
mean, you got to think about this differently as well. If you're Kamaya, they did a little bit more, I guess, of like a pillow. Like they could take a risk for the first game just because of that. And they didn't. I wouldn't say they necessarily chose a risky comp, but maybe as far as playstyle, it'll be a little bit more risky. Of course, going in, getting that first little score, punished for it. Maybe could have been a KO, but in the meantime, we actually see a little bit of maybe a sort of annoying invade. Yep, we're going to see it right there. I like it in the pip. Not sure how much mileage they're going to be able to get out of it. Of course, that little poor little Fletchling is not really the strongest on those early levels, so maybe just trying to be annoying.
Yeah, it's just
Yeah,
annoying.
it definitely is glass cannon-y in that Fletchling stage, right? It does a pretty surprising amount of damage sometimes with those bursts. However, yeah, not good. One thing I'm loving about Komai's composition, Chef, if I can stop it for a moment, is this double defender composition. Komai, one of the only teams that has been playing a composition it's similar to this. It really does allow for some awesome moments where Gecko Kami, being one of the best defender players in the region, has the choice to either shut down an opposing Pokemon
I was like, the
or
play
peel
Scyther
for
and
one of their
not have,
backline attackers like the
Razor
Decidueye. I think it
crazy.
just really enables a player like
Well, the play
Toast
Scissor and
and
not
on this
have Razor Claw
Decidueye
is
pick
crazy.
to be really safe in a lot of situations.
Yeah, I mean, especially it's such a good meta for attackers
It's
right
just-
now.
it's-
I think
it's
is
just
really
three
cool to
redundant
kind of get that
items on
really
top of
protect
each other.
the, you
Muscle
know,
band
like
on top of
the
it, weakness
VIP,
policy on top of it,
that we
attack
haven't seen. I
weights.
kind of feel like for a little bit. I mean, definitely the
Pick
last
two
one was
of the
certainly
three,
not an attack
please.
meta. Nice KO to start things off, being able to chase down, and I mean that is a confirmation, of course, that it is going to be the Scissor, which, as you expertly said, we expected from the items.
Yeah, I'm kind of bummed the Rocky Helmet got bailed on, but Muscle Band just such a evergreen strong item. Gatlu's still
It
not
isn't,
able
though.
to find that
Razor
Fletchinder
Claw,
stage, but it has so
Curse
far
Bangle,
has been able
attack
to
wave.
avoid, well,
I mean,
demise. Some good
Almost
dashes
abandoned
back,
said
getting a
attack
couple
wave.
citrus berries as well so far, but it's just trying to hunt any kind of experience. Narame doing a solid job of defending this goal zone, though. Guitar has not been able to deposit those 20 quite yet.
Great solo defense Pokemon. Unfortunately, now going to be overpowered, especially you still only have that poor little unevolved Fletchling behind, and that's starting to become a problem. Certainly we are familiar with, of course, and this is going to be one of the greatest things about this league is we're going to get more and more familiar with all these players, but Gatlu, we don't need this league to be familiar with him. Definitely a little bit more of a roaming player, kind of whatever, no matter what Pokemon
Gatlu
he ends up playing, and quite
is
good
their
at it,
carry.
but, maybe roaming a little bit too much.
Or no,
in that
that's a
evolution. Nice
Desu.
little fight on bottom to try
Is
to get a
their
counter
carry.
poke, but Absol coming in from
And
the
he's only
top,
level
getting
4.
the KO with that Crustle.
That's
You're
the
talking about
first
how it can be
objective.
hard to avoid those X scissors. It can do a surprising amount of damage, and honestly,
Talk
that
about
looked like
useless.
That, kind of
The
came from
first
top of
3
Absol.
minutes of the
Could've been
game.
for Gem de Palais, but Kamai still keeping solid.
Yeah, just another huge shout out to how good Gek is at reading enemy movements and knowing where to shut down. I love that factor about Crustle. It allows you to play either defensively or offensively, but when you have an Umbreon in tandem, it gives you even more options. So it's Regirock going to go handily over to Gem Play, but on the bottom side, Komai Esport really pushing forward with this siege on the tier 1.
Oh, they're all very, very low. The Unite coming in from the Absol, not going to be able to pick anybody up. They could try to chase. Galu's going to be the first one to go down, but look at this HP on this Umbreon. Still wants to get just help with some points. Maybe it could have been a retreat there. Unite coming out from the Scizor, so they're probably going to be able to chase down Toast here. Not going to be the best Pokemon at escaping. They really, really focused for Kamai on taking that tier 1 goal zone. It was their goal. They got it, but they sure paid a pretty heavy price for it.
Yeah, they lost a little bit of experience. Absol probably gains 1 extra level from that exchange, but I don't know. In terms of how hard it's going to be to score in some of these goal zones, I mean, you have Mewtwo Y, who does that AoE damage off of their auto attacks. You got Mamoswine, whose passive is going to help you defend these goals. Scoring might become a pretty difficult task in some of these situations. So I think Komai thinking, now or never in some of these situations. Not to mention, now Regielekis could be threatening tier 2s instead of just tier 1s from this point forward.
Confirmation as well that it's going to be Fly from Gatlu. I feel like I didn't see that yet. Maybe I just missed it, but
he was a fletchling for 3 minutes.
Yeah, for 90% of the game. Here we go, halfway through, and somehow Gatlu almost tied for highest levels in the game. A great way to catch up. But again, as a roaming player, definitely you have to know when you can find the EXP that you've been missing, or you can find some extra, and that's exactly what he's been doing. But bottom, Reggie is going to be the on. We got pretty solid, I guess, presence from both teams. I'm not sure exactly what's going on up top up there. Maybe they're just trying to get that 40 points in from the Scizor, but at the bottom, they're going to be fighting.
Yeah, that Crustle will have to use its Unite move. Gets a pretty big, bulky shield, and it's going to allow Gek to kind of outlast in that situation. Yeah, there will be a full focus on the Reggie. Even contest, no goal zone to kind of play off of, and already losing their main defender, their main tank, is going to make this a really difficult spot to be. They're going to try to quickly rotate towards that top side, but that will also be Kintatlu and Gecko Kami already laying in a bit of hurt. But wow, what a Unite move from Guitar to take out that talent.
That Unite from Scizor is such a strong move. I mean, obviously we see it a lot from Scyther, for pretty way, but when you're a Scizor and you have so much sustain, and it really kind of gives you that extra bonus to be able to avoid and just to get more presence in a fight, you can turn a fight that was maybe relatively close to very much your favor. So I love seeing Scizor, to be honest. It's a very cool Pokemon just in general. I do want to point out though that I think it was really smart that Kamai did focus on the Regieleki on bottom, because they put so much focus on taking down the tier 1 on bottom earlier. So I feel like if you got to commit, you're got to just commit. You can't go halfway. That was their goal. Unfortunately, get any points, and they're kind of sitting relatively close still in both levels and points and kind of everything.
Yeah, Smash feels kind of at parity. Obviously, Traffy, the lone level 12 in the lobby on this Absol, is going to be a big powerhouse, and they're going to be dumping in a lot of points. Great Mewtwo Unite move to slow them for a second, but that won't be too long. That is 50 points to a very weak goal zone. Huge score lead for Gem Palais. Now, you see Gatlu actually trying to maybe change that around, but Ratsu just defending that tier 1. And they're really difficult to play around. Komai Esport playing a solid macro game, but Gem Palais sneaking a big one past.
That's pretty tough. Honestly, too, the level on the Absol, you mentioned that earlier, I think it's going to be huge, because I feel like the Absol is going to really need to be one of the answers, especially to Gek, and just melt defenders. They're going to be fighting right now. Maybe, no, just attempt a little bit of a push, and they're going to realize that it's time to turn around. Kamai, I feel like they've been going and testing the waters a lot, but they haven't really made very much headway in the match for, I don't know, 3 or 4 minutes.
Yeah, been kind of a passive state right now, and losing that tier 2 is even just like more insult to injury right now. But so far, they haven't been giving up a lot of knockouts either. Gatlu's been doing a better job on this Talonflame of not going down and just playing it kind of safe, at least playing for vision. As Regieleki will be burned down so quickly, I don't think Gem Palais will even have a chance to try to out-contest. That being said, it's only at half HP. We got Mamo, Scizor, and everybody inside. Spirit Shackle's going to become just shy, but it will be a Desu on the Mewtwo X that will find the last hit secure. I think a couple of last hits so far in today's broadcast. Guitar is able to just out-brawl, even stuck inside a mean look 1v4. Unite move, keeping it up still. The Mamoswine going to be gifting that buddy barrier, and together Guitar and MS are going to be holding on to this fight for a little bit longer. Komai finally take down the raid boss Scizor, adding Mamoswine to that tally. Narami not going to be able to outlast through that side strike, and that is 2 Pokemon down on both sides as we final stretch.
And I think speedsters for both sides were kind of checking to see whether or not they could pick off one more Pokemon. Neither was able to. Gatlu does have the ability to score in a huge Hundo Burger right here with that buff, and they should be able to get it. Not sure if they're going to be punished, but that is going to throw Komai back into the lead. 1 minute and 30 seconds left. Gatlu should be able to escape. Of course, Fly is such a great escape move. Not going to completely disengage, though. They are trying to build up for whatever they need. Maybe this is a Gatlu back cap option. Desu's holding a very far forward angle. They know that they have the lead off of that Hundo Burger. Maybe they're just gonna, I don't know, play a little bit more of a patient game, but it's still so close. It's scary.
I think as long as Komai has eyes on Traffy's Absol, you're not worried about Groudon. That is going to be one of the only Pokemon that will be able to just absolutely devastate the HP bar. Otherwise, it's going to be a bit of a slow burn. Talon 3 gets a lot of cooldown reduction, but now is going to be chased down by that Side Strike. Wish healing right back up, and it's toast to start this fight off with taking down the main support. Not able to use that Bliss assistance. So an amazing shutdown from Toast right at the start of this fight.
Great little dodge right there. Scissor staying alive, just barely. Ratsudo super low, and another snipe. Toast doing an amazing job of controlling this match. 70 more points, or maybe, I don't know, 40 more points.
They're winning, so they don't have to actually
nobody able to score on their side. An attempt to get a few more. Narami is going to land those in with only 26 seconds left. This is going to be very tough to turn things around, as they're still trying to score. They first got to defend, and then they've got to run all the way to the other side, and that's not looking super likely to me at all.
Yeah, just a perfect macro decision by Komai Esports. You know you have the lead. Narami scoring kind of micro scores into that home goal zone. As long as you got vision of where they're trying to score, you know they're not trying to attack you. So fantastic work from Komai Esports. That Groudon will remain on the map, and they will finish this UO fashion. What a start from Komai. What a bounce back after their day number 1.
Honestly, too, I really want to talk about that. We're going to quick set for us. All right, I'm back to casting. Good, a little quick set. But I really want to talk about how genius it was, the way that they played at the Groudon after they got the back cap from Gatlu, because that was a position that we've seen so many teams in, where you know you've stolen back the lead, but you haven't stolen the lead back by that much. And confidence to say, we're not going to engage, we're not going to be too aggressive, we're not going to try to take down the main objective. We are simply going to hold our position, make sure that we have vision on you, and then try to race you for the back caps if we do see that actually happening. And then it worked perfectly for them. They got a few more points in, they got a pick, and they just made sure that they were in control of the situation. That's something that takes, I think, a lot of experience. And certainly Komai, the experience on this team is ridiculous players.
Yeah, just a great read of the game state too, right? You still have a tier 1, so even if Jamlu Palais attempts a back cap onto that goal zone, it's very easily defendable for Komai Esport. When you have a Pokemon like Decidueye, who's already in the center, they need to take 2 steps downwards and they're in arrow range, right? So very easy to stop any target, especially Spirit Shackle, what can pierce. But these objectives felt like where Komai was kind of focusing most of their game plan. We were even kind of criticizing this team for a little bit about having kind of a stale mid game due to their just insane priority on the Regieleki, but in the end, it does pay. I think that Blissey getting knocked out right at the start of this fight just really spelled the end of this team fight with Scizor. It does have incredible outlasting potential. It gets a whole lot better when Blissey is redirecting about half of the damage towards themselves and, of course, amplifying the rest. But it is going to be toast. You are player of the game. One of my favorite players in the entire region, holding down that central area. Komai Esport running the Muscle Band Floatstone Bracer. Of course, that Floatstone giving you just a little bit more movement while aiming and charging those Spirit Shackles and constantly getting into that maximum long reach passive range of Decidueye.
And truly an MVP too. I mean, you were talking specifically about a lot of the strategy is about enabling a big attacker like the Decidueye with the double defender, and really a lot of the middle early game was not based around that, just because they were kind of just playing for experience. But we really, in that final, I would say 2.5 minutes of the game, which is why, honestly, if we look at the stats here, it's maybe not like the most wild, like 3 KOs, but it was all ones, or they were all ones that mattered a lot in those final moments. And I mean, great usage of as well, the Unite move to be able to kind of space out with the knock a little bit in that fight. They're just a space control concept of Komai as a team was very, very smart, and their draft, I think, was very, very good. And despite the fact that they didn't maybe do the best yesterday, one of the top runners, which is why I think I mistakenly said that I thought that they were higher on your tier list.
That's all
or
right. I still got him
Jungle
pretty high. Don't you worry.
Okay.
This team looking pretty
Wow.
great. It's see this heat map kind of interesting, right? Because Toast taking
I
that
think
first
both were
central
terrible.
area rotation. Most of
I'd
that
put,
orange and green section in the middle was
Komai
just off of
as,
one.
like,
As soon as they
C-
got to that Decidueye evolution, that ended up
C
being
tier
Gatlu's
list, and
territory.
then Jungle
First
at D tier.
KO of the game at
only had one person
9:15
that aimed.
into the match. Like Toast for running an Excel Bracer, maybe getting a little punished for that greed in the item build. Not getting any stacks towards it. Obviously, they did get a few assists. They got 9 assists, so Excel Bracer going to be stacking up at least a little throughout that match. But yeah, not getting the old double Excel Bracer stack until 9:15.
Oof. Yeah, but again, the KOs mattered a lot, right? Obviously, the fact that the first KO was 9:15 means that they were all within those final moments that were very, very important. Obviously, we got to see it was on one on the Mewtwo, one on the Blissey, and that Blissey was really needed. A lot of Pokemon on the other side that have sustain, but only so much. They need a little bit more to basically be invincible, and they were just not able to get that. So really great stuff altogether. I think Kamai played that really smart. Unfortunately, the comp, which I actually thought was really creative from the other side, Jump to play, just didn't quite I think work out in just that final fight. So love to see more from them, liking what they're doing, but Kamai looking great.
Yeah, they are looking awesome. Now 1-1 so far. I
VH3
think a much more
versus Avalanche.
score that reflects
I just
where we
hope
all kind of
somebody
thought they would
aims,
end
man.
up happening
Somebody
in these
aims.
power rankings and things like that. But folks, we got an exciting one for you coming up next. We got
Somebody.
BH3
No names.
Esport, number 1 on my
Who's
vibe
that?
check versus Avalanche. So this is going to be a really fun one. I hope you all stick around. We're going to jump to a very short break, and when we come back, more EU action.
Minutes isn't enough time to play another freaking bot game.
And oh, we're back again.
Yes.
Wait, give me a moment because look, I've come out of the tall grass. I'm getting a little bit lost here. All right, we can't see what I'm doing, but hey, we are here with another update. I know that was a short one. Did you miss me? I don't know. But game 3, it's all been concluded
No, I didn't miss
between
you. That's only because
DreamHack and Tuesday
when I think about
Esports.
Pokemon, I just want to
And
be
I've
inside
gotta
the bubble.
say,
And
I
if
had
you
a
bring me
little
out of
bit
the
of
bubble, I
deja
don't.
vu. It was very similar to the
I'm
first
a bit
match,
upset.
where
I just want to.
very similar patterns
Seriously,
in
I just
terms
want
of
Squirtle,
both
Squirtle,
sides
Squirtle.
being really
That'd be the whole
close
dialogue.
up until that Regieleki mark, where DreamHack really put their foot down and used a good old Regieleki push to turn the tides. They ended up securing the victory 2-1. But since then, we have also also begun the other match, Peru Unite up against Force Gaming. And Force Gaming really force into action here and being able to take down Peru Unite for their first game. So this one is still underway. I'll be sure to come back out of the tall grass to let you all know how that one ends up panning out. But for now, we're going to throw it back to Spraggles and Doob to continue EU regional matches.
Thank you, Kello.
All right, thank you very much, Kellosaurus. Welcome back, Doob Snacks. Man, Peru Force. I'm actually jealous that Kello is watching that game right now. That sounds unbelievably exciting.
Right?
We have a really cool one coming up, however, for EU, because we have a team right now that is undefeated, looking to keep that going. I'm talking about BH3 Esport. This team is climbing up the charts, and they are burning up Zoink's power rankings as we speak.
Yeah, and Zoink crystal clear to us before he left and let us take this match on that BH3 is currently number 1 based ranking, and Avalanche number 8. So can Resu, Cesaro, Kranix, Utah, and Megu hold on to that top spot? Or is Avalanche finally going to get the vibes up? Rank number 7, so he lied to me. He lied to me as I'm getting exposed immediately.
No. He didn't lie to you.
He switches.
Just so we're clear, on Breast, we don't show Zoink's power rankings for the team's rankings.
I thought that's what we should do, right?
Well, look, I wouldn't.
The most like reference thing. Okay, well, good thing he's not here. I'm trying to look. You know,
we can actually see his screen.
On his power rankings. We can see his screen. Avalanche is number 7.
No way. Let me pull it. You know what, guys? Pull up Zoink's screen right now.
Zoink's screen.
We can see it. Zoom in. Can we enhance?
Number 7.
Enhance.
What an absolute liar. This is a coup on the Spraggles Snacks cast of BH3 Avalanche right now. I want to apologize to Avalanche right now and Stray. 1v7. Here we go. Let's get into it.
You know, this is one of those moments, right? I mean, we're still at the start of the season, so there's a lot to figure out. Obviously, we have an undefeated team. They look incredible. We saw them on broadcast yesterday, look amazing. They took down Peps, if I'm not mistaken, or another team that we look at as the top team. But this is a shot to upset, right? This is the David and Goliath. This is the chance to really make a name for yourself out here. Someone's got to be Gambit, and it could be Avalanche right now.
Yeah, it was mentioned by Chef and Zoinks specifically that the EU region seems to be the one that's most at parity from 1 to 8, and thusly makes it one of the more exciting regions to watch of that inter-region competition, being the closest to balanced amongst all of the regions. So that in and of itself drives excitement here, because it really feels like any one of these teams has a chance against any other one if EU's history holds true.
Yeah, no question, right? And there always is that really interesting, fire beating grass, grass beating water, water beating fire that you do see with some of these regions, right? For some reason, the two best teams are very close, but there's another team that's maybe like looked at as a 4th or 5th spot, but they're really good against one of the top teams. We're going to see if that happens here in this game. Obviously, Avalanche with a lot to prove, and BH3 wants to stay at the top of the pack.
Yeah, with 5 weekends to go here in our league, closing the door on the first one and being on top of the pile is without a doubt where you want to be. The good news is the way this league is set up is no matter what your results are in the first weekend, there is plenty of time to adjust and really find your stride and finish strong. So anyone that is currently down is certainly not out, and that's important to keep in mind as we work through the rest of this weekend.
Yeah, and it's also going to be interesting to see. I think the thing that's of what teams are the best in the league is going to be how well these teams start to adapt to the shifts in the meta. And with the frequency of patches that we have in Unite, usually like one every, sometimes been like about 3 weeks. We kind of have like a big one, and then every like a couple weeks later we have like a little update to that and a little update to that. I think the big thing with this league is going to be noticing how these teams move the patches. How do they handle when the speedster meta pops up? How do they handle when Darkrai becomes something that is a must ban every single game, and on and on?
Exactly. And not only is it how are they going
I
to
feel like
adjust, but how are
there's
they
just
going to
no
learn to
meta
attack it in
ever.
clever ways? Because
They
you don't
just
have
use
to
Talon
crack the
Flame
code. You
and,
just have to crack
Decidueye.
you just have to
If
figure
it
it
was
out
really
for
a
a
meta,
short stint of time,
they
right?
wouldn't use those Pokemon.
Because it's not a major tournament. It's a weekend in which you
Most people
battle.
just don't aim,
solving it
so it's
for
not- it's not
one
really
short
worried about
weekend,
it.
maybe having the best
If
strategy going
if there's a
in
meta or not,
is
it's
really
figuring
going to
out
provide
what's the most
dividends, because by
broken
the
thing that
time the
people
rest of
don't
the
have to
teams
aim
catch up, you're already
with
on to the next week and the next patch.
Blastoise,
Taking a look here,
Vaporeon,
Doob Snacks, while we're waiting for our teams to get ready, we've got our top
Mega
Pokemon
Gyarados.
by encounter rate.
I call it
This
Mega
is
Meg.
either picked or banned. As you can see, Mega Mewtwo,
The Mewtwo.
X at the top
Everything
of the
right
pile,
here,
right there with
don't
Mega
have to aim.
Gyarados. 52
Wow,
encounters for the both of them. Oh,
surprising.
wow. I didn't even notice Blastoise. All three of them
Highest
are in
encounters is
52
no
of the
aim
games this weekend.
involved.
Vaporeon just shy at 51. I guess there's no need to nerf it. It's not as good as the other three.
Yeah, it's just definitely not as good as the other three. Taking a look here, you mentioned your Mount Rushmore. Has that changed from yesterday into today? And based on the information we're looking at here, of course, that Mount Rushmore is the 3 Pokemon that Spraggles would anticipate being the most banned.
Yeah, I mean, I would expect, again, Mega Gyarados, I think, is just the best thing walking around in the game. You have to have someone who plays it, but once this thing gets online, it has a few mechanics in its kit that I think are just fundamentally unfair. And spoiler alert, it is getting balanced next week as well. You have Vaporeon that I think is just disgusting. Even after it's been nerfed, I think this thing is unbelievably broken. Spoiler alert, it is getting nerfed next week. Mega Lucario, on the other hand, is a really interesting one. I think this thing is great, and I think a huge reason this sits so high for ban rate is just because pro players who have been playing this game since day one have the mechanics of Lucario embedded in their brain. You know, there is just that like neural pathway is open every time they charge a power up punch or something.
Really.
So I do think a lot of the reason Mega Lucario is banned is not only because it's so dang good, but because their players have such an incredible comfort with this pick.
That's a great call out. And you want to talk about the Blastoise high encounter rate, but comparatively a pretty low ban rate, just sitting at 38% compared to the things to its left there.
Given it essentially the same cooldown as if,
because it rarely is, it is being selected somewhere in our draft. And from what you and I have seen, it's usually in those first 1
You're just getting resets
picks.
for no reason.
Yeah, Blast. It's interesting as you look at our ban rate here. Blastoise, Mewtwo, and Mega Mewtwo X and Mega Mewtwo Y. All three of them, if they don't get banned, are basically being picked every game. As like that's literally the exact bottom 3 there that we saw. Now those are our top 3 pick rate. When they're not banned, you snatch them up every time. Mewtwo, Blastoise, Mewtwo, followed by Psyduck, Blaziken, and Umbreon.
Psyduck is a bit of a surprise to me. I feel like you and I haven't seen it too much, but it's something that I would expect to see more and more. I think it has such good utility in both support
and
I
want to see
pseudo tank roll, just the spacing it provides with its serve. I mean, I believe it's an incredibly strong Pokemon.
If I'm going against
them, it's going to get gassed up a little bit.
Psyduck, I'm happy.
In that patch,
but if my team picks Psyduck,
it is as we head into game
number
one between BH3 Esports and Avalanche. Heading into our draft here, obviously we're starting Kyogre for our map. The bans are going to be Leafeon, Suicune, Inteleon, finally Vaporeon from Avalanche. BH3 is going to have that final ban for their side of Mega Lucario. And then BH3 after this next ban will be getting our first pick here. And man, you know, there are a few squads to watch in EU. Not surprising that one with, you know, so many great players, Kranix, Rezu, Saz, and of course, Utah and Megu look this good.
No, you're exactly right. And with Mega Mewtwo Y being banned there, we've got a lot of those power picks we were just talking about available here for these 2 teams. And without delay, Mega Gyarados is taken by BH3.
Yeah, now the question is, do we just quickly grab Mewtwo X and Blastoise here? I mean, it's definitely possible that they just pick up these next 2 extremely powerful Pokemon. But we'll see. You also could be counter picking your opponents, right? Which I do think is extremely important. But no, they go for kind of what we thought was going to happen there: Blastoise and Mewtwo X.
Blastoise and Mewtwo
Yeah,
X.
both incredible
Yes.
picks. Like I said, from the panels we just saw, I mean, it's following the story of the numbers that we've seen so far. Psyduck as well being selected in Blaziken. I mean, this is exactly what we just looked at, right?
I think they're looking at the graphics.
And you're not even aiming.
I
You're
think
not
they're
even aiming.
Cheating.
Guys, can we give a game loss to? Let's do Dignitas.
Yeah, let's go ahead and take care of Dig here, but specifically just Chris Heroes. Let's go ahead and get him fired.
Yes, please. Thank you so much. They're on it. They're on it right now. As we have Zoroark and Eldegoss being locked in for Avalanche. Interesting calls here. I mean, a lot of teams are choosing to play Zoroark without Comfey recently. I think a huge reason, of course, being the EXP change in the game. Now you've essentially become a little bit of an experienced leech for your high-level carry Pokemon. However, we did see some teams, I believe it was NA, right, that brought Comfey out a few times.
No, you're exactly right. I like this S here. It's just a Pokemon that I think has been underrepresented in comparison to all the other ones we've seen. BH3 kind of going with a little bit more of a support angle, but I said Psyduck could be a pseudo tank, and it looks like that's where it's going to be for BH3 here. As Jaux goes ahead and locks down Espeon to round out Avalanche's draft.
I got to say, I also love Espeon, but when I look at the other side, Rezu on Latias, essentially sliding this into the attacker role, right? They've got those special attack specs, a drive lens. I think this Pokemon is great because it does have incredible support in its kit with both Mist Ball and Dragon Shear. But man, just being able to deal so much damage as well, it does make it that hybrid support attacker, which can easily slot into that bottom path role.
Without a doubt, and that's the flexibility of the BH3 draft, right? They got their power pick right off the start with that Mega Gyarados, and everything else fills. There we go. We're back on camera. I was standing up to stretch my legs. If production, if you said something to me, man, I did not hear it. There you go. Did you hear it, Spriggle?
Yeah, I knew we were coming back. I couldn't wait to see what was about to happen. I'm excited about it because I think there's a reality where they didn't cut back, given that you were standing up. But I'm glad they did. Actually, I'm glad they followed through with it.
Yeah, you know, egg on my face. Go ahead and turn your volume up in my ears, please. Can't hear you at all. Cannot hear you at all as we proceed. That is much better. Thank you. You know, just a crisp sit down, I think would work wonders here for us. Cowboy, go ahead and say the thing.
We are getting ready for our next game here, but it looks like we have a quick pause as our teams need to make sure that they can reconnect into this match. While we do take a second here for this pause, I do think it's a good time to kind of set the table when BH3 is currently undefeated in the league, so they're looking like the top squad. Avalanche is ranked number 7 and ranked number 7 on Zoink's power rankings. Zoinks did initially lie off broadcast and say they were ranked. I'm not calling him a liar, but what is someone that lies if they're not that? I don't know what to say.
Well,
I won't call someone a liar, but I'll point out lies.
What do you call somebody that lies? And please put some numbers to that. Thank you.
Yeah, can we get stats on that in the chat? If we could figure out Twitch too. Shout out to everybody on Twitch and YouTube watching along. What do you call somebody that lies? Just casually lies all the time. Let me know in the chat. We'll see if they can figure it out. But what I'll never do is call someone a liar. I'll simply tell what happened and heavily imply my opinion. And I think that's fair.
That's more than fair. What else can they realistically expect from us at this point in time, especially when we are getting fed preposterously wrong information, as we often are? Okay, not too sure what's going on with our game, but let's talk about our draft here. Again, just the power level of the selections we've seen, I really, really like where BH3 is. I think they got some very strong choices going through the entire thing. So on the other side here, I believe we're jumping right back into the draft, and we'll see if everything kind of shakes out the same way.
Yeah, Yeah, no, the word we got from the production was there actually was a mispick somewhere here. It's possible it was all the way down near the bottom for our Espeon. We're going to find out as we move through this draft here. BH3 starting off with Mega Gyarados. Over to Avalanche, they're going Blastoise, and I'm guessing Mewtwo X. Yes, indeed.
Yeah, you can't deny the strength of those first two picks with Blastoise and Mega Mewtwo X as discussed. But this Psyduck, that's where my excitement comes from. I believe this Pokemon should be seen a lot more than it is. Despite, showing up on our graphic that it is being selected, I actually thought that number, the encounter rate percentage, was going to be higher.
And our final pick over here to Avalanche. So it wasn't the Espeon. Let's see what the final pick is. That maybe got kind of screwed up there.
Shame on us for getting excited for Espeon. Oh,
no, it looks like, Espeon's there. It looks like it's Decidueye.
So what was the misstep? I'm having trouble recalling.
Yeah, they didn't have Decidueye. What did they have instead? It was higher on the list. It was one higher. Now I'm blanking on what. It was
Zoroark. They don't have Zoroark.
Business from us out here.
What was it? Now I'm. I wish I had Zoinks. I'm a liar.
For those of you in the chat here, if you can remember what that was, go ahead and let us know. Let the pros know what is going on out here. But I mean, Decidueye has.
Oh, you know what? It was Zoroark. I remember it was Zoroark because I was talking about Zoroark not having a Comfey. I made a whole point about it, and it wasn't even something they picked. The Caster Curse again.
That is something. I mean, I know the Caster Curse exists like across all casters of all games, but I feel like you and I uniquely get hit with it. It's way crazy. More than we deserve.
If I said tomorrow was Monday, in 5 minutes there'd be an announcement. They're like, for the first time ever, we're doing Tuesday. I swear, it always happens. We are cursed, and uniquely, it's not even that we're wrong. We've never actually been wrong. We've simply been cursed a lot.
Yeah, that's at some point in time we slighted a witch that put just the worst curse on us. Say the thing. Let's get into it.
Here we go, BH3 Esport, your purple team, Avalanche, your orange team, as we are getting ready here for game number 1 between these two squads. As a reminder, BH3 undefeated in EU. Avalanche has not won a set yet. This could be a huge upset moment for them, as we see the Hoopa just making their way, trying to take away some of this experience. And I gotta say, Doomstacks, I love to watch an invade.
I do too, and they have that light bulb on. You said it used to be the best. Now it's just niche, but this is the niche role that it fills right here, and Sazero is called out immediately and bullied out by a gospel pressers, and it really feels like Avalanche has adjusted well to the potential invade and really kind of kept it at bay.
Here we go up to the top path. We already have ourselves the Combuskin trying to make a fight happen. In fact, just peeling